All right, let's dive right into this explainer and decode business strategist Myron Golden's framework for completely dismantling what he calls our subconscious poverty programming. If you've ever felt like there's this invisible ceiling on your financial success, well, Myron Golden's framework suggests that the barrier isn't your capability at all. It's actually your internal programming. So, what is the invisible programming keeping you poor? It's a pretty heavy thought, right? But the truth is, we are culturally hypnotized to view wealth, money, and even selling through this massive lens of lack. I mean, we're taught from a super young age not to talk about money, and because of that, we subconsciously avoid the actual mechanics of generating it. This hidden belief system is out there actively blocking your financial potential, and you probably don't even realize it's happening. And that brings us to the core philosophy here. People don't lack abundance. They lack awareness to the access they have to abundance. Golden uses this absolutely fascinating analogy to explain this. He says walking through life thinking money is scarce is kind of like walking through life thinking there's a limited amount of air to breathe. Think about it. If you really thought air was limited, you'd take these tiny, shallow breaths just to save some for everyone else. But in reality, abundance is literally everywhere. We're just blind to the opportunities sitting right in front of our faces. So here is our roadmap for today. We're going to cover 1, the awareness of abundance, 2, defeating your lie identity, 3, sales as true service, 4, paying with your creativity, and finally, 5, the pathway to greatness. Let's jump right in. Section 1, the awareness of abundance. Let's consider the standard scarcity mindset for a second. That's the belief that life is just a zero-sum game, and making money has to be this grueling uphill struggle. Now, contrast that with wealth awareness. And listen, this isn't just some fluffy, toxic, positive thinking. Not at all. It's an active, razor-sharp awareness that opportunities are already completely surrounding you. You don't necessarily even need to change your skill set. You just need a brand new lens to see exactly how your current circumstances can actually be monetized. To really anchor this idea, let's look at Golden's own story. So he was working as a trash man, making a meager $6.25 an hour. Fast forward to a pivot in his awareness, and he generated $6,200 in a single week through a side venture. Crazy, right? The crucial realization he had here was that it's actually way easier to make a lot of money in a short period of time than it is to make a little money over a long period of time. It's a complete 180-degree inversion of how most of us are taught to view work and compensation. Moving right along to Section 2, defeating your lie identity. So a lie identity is basically the collection of false limitations, those lingering I am nots that have been programmed into you over your entire lifetime. Every single time you say to yourself, oh, I'm not smart, or I'm not a natural salesperson, or I'm just not talented, you are actively cementing a totally false identity that completely restricts your capacity. It's wild, but people often believe way more deeply in who they aren't than in who they actually are. To break that cycle, we really have to look at the sequence of success, because honestly, most people operate totally backward here. They think, well, if I just have more money, then I can do what I want, and I'll finally be happy. Actually, scratch that. The real foundational sequence is be, do, have. First, you absolutely must be the person whose identity aligns with abundance. That internal identity dictates your activity, what you do. And then your external activity eventually dictates your property, what you have. You simply cannot change your outcomes until you fundamentally change who you are being. Which brings us to Section 3, sales as true service. Now, this next step is absolutely crucial. We have to reframe the external action of sales to remove that sort of yucky stigma people attach to it. So many people hate selling because they equate it with convincing. But convincing is just pushing an offer for your reasons, and human nature always pushes back against that, right? If you chase, people run. Persuasion, however, is like a magnet. It's helping someone make a decision they already deeply desire to make, but for their own reasons. It's a pull, not a push. Okay, so how exactly do you persuade and actually uncover that value? Well, value comes from past perceived voids, things someone missed out on in their past. It comes from present perceived virtues, what they think is highly beneficial to them right now. And it comes from future perceived visions, what they dream of becoming down the road. The top performers out there, they don't just awkwardly list off product features. They map their offer across these 3 specific areas to seamlessly bridge the gap from where a person currently is to where they desperately want to be. All right, Section 4, paying with your creativity. This brings us to the actual mechanical engine of true wealth generation. Think about it. The middle class pays for a house, a car, or a vacation by trading a finite resource, which is their time. They were quite literally paying for things with pieces of their life. Wealthy entrepreneurs, on the other hand, operate in a completely different universe. They use their limitless creativity to build assets. They create an offer, like a book or a scalable business, and that asset pays for their expenses. It's a massive paradigm shift. Let's look at this specific number to really drive it home. $267,000. That is what Golden generated in just one single recent year from 2 books he wrote way in the past, one from 20 years ago and another from 5 years ago. The creativity he used to write those books, it never ran out. The asset didn't just disappear. When you pay with creativity, your wealth generation engine runs completely independent of the clock. It literally self-replenishes. Now, to understand why some people achieve this insane level of scaling while others just don't, we have to look at Price's law. This is a principle stating that 50% of the production in any given domain is generated by the square root of that domain's total participants. So, to put that in plain English, in a company of 100 sales reps, just 10 of them will generate half of all the company's sales. Mediocrity scales exponentially, for sure, but true excellence, that scales incrementally. Let's apply that to the real world. Out of roughly 30 million businesses in the United States, the square root is just 5,477. So, if Price's law holds true at the macro level, a remarkably tiny fraction, a mere 5,477 businesses, are producing roughly half of the entire gross domestic product. Mastering your mindset and output puts you in a staggeringly small, highly effective minority. It's mind-blowing when you think about it. And finally, Section 5, the pathway to greatness. Moving from the purely mechanical stuff to the meaningful, there are 3 absolute pillars for true fulfillment here. First up is creation, building something genuinely valuable using your own unique gifts. Second is connection, having people to actually share it with. Because let's be real, creating immense wealth is completely empty if you've alienated all your loved ones in the process. And third is contribution, giving back to those who can offer you absolutely nothing in return. This is exactly where wealth generation moves way beyond the numbers and becomes true purpose. Ultimately, this entire framework we've been talking about is rooted in a deep, deep commitment to serving others. As Myron notes, greatness is not what you think you are. Greatness is what other people see you being as you serve other people. Removing your scarcity programming isn't just about hoarding assets for yourself. It's about clearing away all those false limitations so you can step up and provide immense value to the people around you. Which leaves us with this final provocative thought for you to chew on. Are you building wealth just to have more? Or are you truly ready to rewrite your internal programming to serve more? The tools and the opportunities for abundance are already sitting right there in your environment, just waiting for your awareness to shift. So start focusing on who you need to be, the real value you can provide, and the limits you urgently need to unlearn. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I truly hope this sparks a brand new paradigm for you.